Hello everyone, hope you're keeping well. Thank you for joining me again. It's only 6 weeks now until the Woods in the Woods, which I'm very excited about. This is our first ever Oakbound Games Day, and we're holding it in a patch of lovely open air woodland here in Gloucestershire. Hoping lots of people will join us, and because it's open air and there's lots of ventilation, it'll be nice and safe and everyone can play games at an appropriate distance and have fun and enjoy themselves and learn to play the Woods, because quite a lot of people now have picked up the rulebook, but obviously we've not been able to see each other to play games, so this will be just a nice low-key opportunity to meet some people, have some fun and play some games, learn to play the Woods in a nice surrounding. So I hope you can join me. Now, as related to that, I've had a request from a couple of people that we take a look at how to build warbands in the Woods. And so I'm going to take a break from looking at sculpting things and just cover how to build a warband using this volume. I'm using the soft back version here just for ease of flicking through. Let's showcase the different formats. This is the paperback version. So I just want to say first of all a bit of information about how this book is laid out. It's laid out in the way that I like to read things. So I like to get immersed in the world before I start considering any rules. I like to know what the setting is of the game that I'm playing, find out a little bit about the character of the place, then learn the rules, and then once you've got the basics down, learn how you go about creating forces. So that's how this is laid out. You've got a little bit at the beginning here on the world and the things that inhabit it, and then you've got a couple of pages here, this is page 12 and 13, which gives you enough rules information to understand when you get to the pages at the end of each of the creature types, the pages where you've got the stats. So that gives you enough information to have a general overview of what these stats mean, but not any depth to them. Once you go through all of the creature types, find out a little bit about the world, people that live in it, what they do, what they like. Then you get to the rules. Okay, and that takes you through a bit more detail regarding the stats and how the gameplay actually works, along with the skills and the equipment. And then you get into the 3 different ways that you can play the game. So there's page 164 is playing the game in role-play mode. Page 174 is playing the game in skirmish mode. I should say role-play mode includes things like tunnel games, it's kind of dungeon games on page 169, and also solo games are covered under the role-play section. Then skirmishes on page 174, and battles, mass combat on page 184. So we're going to be looking at skirmish level, that's sort of warband level games, and that's really where the Woods properly sits. The other modes are perfectly playable, and I like to play in role-play mode and I like to play in battle mode, but they're designed really to feed into and out of skirmish mode, which was the first way that we wrote the rules for the Woods, and I would say it's the kind of the main level of setting. And the first thing that you get to when you get to the skirmish page is recruiting your warband. Okay, the first thing that you do is you pick a leader. Warbands are all actually before you do that, you pick a warband type. Okay, so there are not all of the creature types have warband types in this book, but a lot of them do, so you'll be able to find out which ones do. For example, the Huldra do. They will say creature type something, warbands, and then start off with your leader here, and then there'll be troops on the following page. You can also build Seelie and Unseelie courts, which are different types of warband, and we'll come to those at the end. But standard warbands are picked from these lists. So find a creature type that you like the look of. Let's just, for example, let's turn to the Norlocks page. So let's say, okay, we like Norlocks, we're going to build a Norlock warband. You start off with your leader. That's in this first box here. In this case, the leader of a Norlock warband is the Pensveach. And you can see their stat line there. Now actually, in some cases, the stat line is different to the standard profile for the creature that's up the top here. This is the basic regular creature profile. In this case, the only difference here is that my leader has got an extra point of wisdom. That's because all Norlock leaders will have got there through quick wits, through subtlety, guile, manipulation, so they'll all have an extra point of wisdom. Some leaders have exactly the normal creature profile, and you can build them however you like to a degree. Some have very specialised leader characteristics because you always get the certain type rising to leadership, and they don't have much in the way of options, but you'll always have a bit of flexibility over how you design your leader. So anyway, my Norlock leader here, he's got the warrior skill as standard, he's got a short sword, bronze short sword, and a leatherjack as standard, and that's his standard profile. In addition to that, all leaders and troops are also standard creatures, so they will have the alignment and the skills and the equipment that all creatures of this type have. So in this case, they've also got eagle eyes, fleet, light fingers, a sling, a bronze dagger, and a Norlock kilt, okay, as standard. You've then got a series of options here, and you've got 10 points that you can spend on options from this list. So in this case, I can spend 4 points to increase my wisdom by 1, 4 points to increase my perception by 1, 4 points to increase my agility by 1, 4 points to increase my strength by 1, 3 points per common or Norlock item that I want to add to them, 3 points per skill that I want to add to them. So those are my leader building options. So I pick whatever ones of those I like. Some will have different options, so the option to increase a skill by +1 or possibly by +2. With all of these cases, you can only increase any one core stat once. So if you've got the option to raise it by +1 and the option to raise it by +2, you can't raise it by +3 by a combination of those two features. You can only raise them once. But things like the buying items and skills, you can buy any you like up to the value for your leader. You've also got an option here to add 20 additional points for troops, and again you can do that as many times as you want. That in this case costs you 2 points, so I could spend all of my 10 points on my leader and get 100 additional points for my warband, which would be effectively doubling the size of my warband, but it would then make my leader quite weak. Okay, so you need to sort of balance between those two things, but it gives you a bit of flexibility to design the kind of leader that you want to play to set a bit of a character for your warband. Then you come to the recruitment chart, and here you'll have 4 creature type, or 4 troop types I should say, each with a different points cost, and you have 100 points as standard to recruit your warband. So in this case, for example, you've got your standard Durath, the standard Norlock warriors, and they're 16 points each, going up to your elite warriors, the Tragrath and the Muskrath with the Norlock muskets, Norlock weapons, ranged missile weapons, which are particularly devastating. Now, those are 25 points each, so you can buy 4 of those for your warband, but you probably don't want to do that because it won't give you that much flexibility. But there are no minor or major unless it says under the troop type that you can only have 1, or you can only have a certain number, or you have to have this, that, and that. So the troop types are all described here in this next box. And some of them will have options. So for example, my Durath, and when I've bought my basic standard Norlock warrior for 16 points, I have the options to give them a long spear for 2 points, short spear for 1 point, a glaive for 5 points, a targe for 1 point, or a short sword for 4 points, for example. Some of them will have extra skills, some of them will have extra equipment, some of them will have extra traits. Go through, build your list however you like, and then that's job done. You're done on recruiting your warband, except that if you want to, you can also pick an ally for your warband, and that has to be the same alignment. So in this case, my Norlocks are Seelie, and the same folk type. Okay, so they have to come from the same region. So in this case, Norlocks are Mine folk, So if I have a look further in the Mindfolk, in fact, Mindfolk are a little bit limited because you've only got Norlocks, Kobolds, Goblins, and Gnomes. And Norlocks being Seelie can only ally with Gnomes who are Seelie. The Goblins being unseelie can't ally with the Norlocks. And the Kobolds are also unseelie. So my only option there if I want allies is to ally with Gnomes. Allies you can't pick from the Warband list, you have to pick from the standard creature list, so I could only get a standard gnome. But some of them, for example, if I go to Pixies are Seelie woodfolk, okay, and they have a lot of options because there are a lot of folk. There are Boggarts, Boogles are unseelie, so you can't pick those, but there are Dinadri and Fodden and Gilly and Piskies and not Wargers or Yautogs, they're unseelie, so that's your choice there. But that's just if you want to have a bit of an extra something added into your warband to give it a bit of a unique character, a unique flavour, you can pick an ally. So that's how you build your starting warband. After every game, or during every game, you will gain, hopefully, if you do well, you'll gain experience points that you can spend to expand your warband. And once you've recruited your base warband, you then don't have a limit to recruitment, except that you can only recruit one character between two of the games. So you build up your warband slowly, but you can pick. Let's see, where is this? So this is on page 182. You can recruit a single new member to your warband. They do not have to be chosen from the warband list you start with. You can choose any creature with the same alignment. So you don't have to rely on the same regional alignment anymore. It's just Seelie or unseelie. If you choose from your own list, you can pick troops. If you pick from anywhere else, you're picking standard creatures as per normal. You then have to upkeep your warband, so you have issues like malnourishment to worry about. You have to feed them, you can buy them equipment. Sometimes your leader will be usurped and you have to replace your leader. But you can learn skills with them, they can develop traits, there's all the kind of campaign development stuff, they get injuries. And if you're playing a strict campaign cycle, you can choose to play a game per fictional month, and that gives you different light and dark turns and also seasonal effects that you can play. But these are all optional extras that you can tap into. So I just want to touch very briefly on the other types of warband, because obviously those are very easy to build, but they are a bit restrictive. If you want to go all out and do whatever you like with your warband, you can absolutely do that. And of course, all of these things in here, if you're playing at home, you can play fast and loose with recruitment. You can throw anything together that you like, as long as opponents agree to you fielding it. But for a kind of balanced game, it's best to work within these lists. But if you want to go step outside the list and do something a bit interesting, you can create either a Seelie court or an unseelie court. Those are the two sort of alignments in the game. Seelie are people who are broadly in favour of the Fae. Unseelie are people who are broadly opposed to the Fae. That's how that is that's drawn, that distinction. And if you build an unseelie court, or if you build a Seelie court, you start off creating a character in the same way as you would with a role-playing game. So those guides for creating characters, you'll find them on page 13 at the beginning, and also under role-playing games on page 164, gives you a bit of a guideline as well. So you create basically a role-playing character, which gives you a bit more freedom on what kind of creature you choose, how you equip them, what skills and traits you give them. And then you select their warband, and you can pick from any creatures of the same alignment, so Seelie or unseelie, but you can only pick from the standard profile of creatures. So you can't go into troop types and specialist creatures. You can only pick the standard profile, and the points value is there given as the points value for a standard creature. So I could have, let's say I was creating an unseelie court, I could have a puka, I could have a Huldrauga character, I could have some Buka, I could have some Mieri, I could have a Kelpie, all mixed in together, even though they come from different areas and they wouldn't be able to fit within the standard warband types. I can pick them as part of a court and mix them in together. It just means that you don't get the advantage of picking the specialist types. You're picking up the outcasts, the one-offs, and once you've got them, you can obviously build them and expand them and develop them and add skills and equipment as you like. But you just have to start off with the basic creature profile. So I hope that's helped. Looking forward to seeing what warbands you come up with. Do give me a shout if there's anything that I need to make a bit clearer. Next week we will return to sculpting and the general kind of setup that I use when I'm sculpting, so watch out for that. Look forward to seeing you, and I hope that I will see you in the woods very shortly. Take care.